So in the following video I'm going to do a recap of what we did in basically season 1 of all these videos, so about 60 videos in total. I'm going to start from scratch, so basically from video 1, and go through what we actually covered as of yet. So in the start we talked a little bit about structure and we talked about wireframing here. Now wireframing is part of where you had an image and you had to kind of structure these boxes around the images, around the tags, so you knew how and what blocks you needed to create, so we're able to actually start creating our HTML. I just simplified here 2 pages, so one is our index and one is our HTML. One is our HTML and one is our CSS over here. And in my index over here we have the basics like paragraphs, div blocks, navigation, main, sections, and so on and so on. So these are elements inside our HTML, so HTML elements. We can either use the predefined like a navigation, a nav, main, section, and so on, or we can create our own as well by using a class or an ID, like we do with the div blocks. We usually create that with an ID in the videos we have seen so far. In our style.css we use something called selectors, so we can do a specific targeting to an area we want to only do changes to or style. So like here we have hashtag name that would refer to an ID somewhere, so div space and then an ID equals name, and then this will actually hit that one. Or we could just type it in like this without the hashtag, so we could just write nav, but these will only work for predefined HTML elements like paragraphs, nav, main, sections, and so on. Once we've done that, we use the curly brackets, and then we actually start adding a property and value to this. So property and values are, as you've done quite already, like you could add a background color and then you do a colon and then you add what color, so red, or in a hex code that would be FF0000, or you can continue with this. So those are properties and values are always something, so like pixels, percentage, colors, hex codes, and so on. Whereas property is the thing we want to change, and the selectors is where we want to change it. So that's the first part, so I'm going to make this go down a little bit, so look at the next part here. So now we know this, and then we can look at what this actually means. So over here again our HTML, and over here we have some CSS and image to show what it actually means. So properties, color here, value, blue, and then in this case this is in 1 line. We usually create them in 2 lines, so I would have clicked enter to make font go below here, and the same procedure, so properties and values, and over here is my H1, that is my selector, so only the H1 will actually be hit. Over here is just a way to see how it actually works and how the container has items inside it and who's the parent and children. So let's go through this real quick. So the outermost layer is our HTML, and then we could have our body, that's down here, and we have our header tag up here. Basically what that means is this, I'm trying to highlight now in the top of my browser, this is my header part or head part, and the other part, the body, is from here to here. So this would be the body part of this down here. And then inside this we can create, for example, the area that's white here could be a main, and inside the main we would have our H1 paragraphs, more blocks to build, and so on. So again, structure and how it works. Next part I'm going to just quickly talk about is how it actually works together. So in this case we have our index again over here and our style sheet over here. Here I just try to show you graphically how they actually work together. So I have this piece of HTML code, so I have a div with an ID, its name is 1, and div ID, its name is 2 down here. It has paragraphs inside it that says text 1, text 2, text 1, text 2. And over here I have my CSS. Now I try to color code it so it's easier to see where everything goes. So if I write hashtag 1, like I did here, this would actually target this specific area over here where it says div ID 1. So only that part would be hit. And then I add a width, a height, and a background color of black. Next part is hashtag 1, and then I do a space and I do the P. This means that only a paragraph that is inside as a children of 1 will be hit. So only the paragraphs, this paragraph and this paragraph. The last part here is I have just, with not anything attached to it, I just have a paragraph ready here and the color is orange. So this is what it actually prints out. So the actual view, we have a black box, a blue text and an orange text. But here I do something weird, right? We have our hashtag and then we have the paragraph, but why aren't all four either orange or blue? It's mainly because we actually do here, we only tagging the paragraph that's inside the one. So inside this part up here. So only the paragraphs inside this specific div block with an ID 1 will have the color light sky blue. And all the other paragraphs on the entire page will have the color orange if we don't change anything. So more for this in the next video.